Welcome to the Angular ListBox component tutorial. The Syncfusion Angular ListBox is a graphical user interface that displays a list of items with multi-selection options. In this video, I'll show you how to create an Angular app and add the Syncfusion Angular ListBox component. I will also show you how to configure the ListBox component with a few of its basic features, such as data binding, single item selection, and multi-item selection using checkboxes. Let me start with the application creation process. I'm going to create an Angular application using the Angular CLI tool. Make sure you have installed the latest version of Node.js. I will edit my code using Visual Studio Code and check the output on Google Chrome. First, I open Visual Studio Code and install the Angular CLI using the command npm install -g at angular/CLI. Next, I will create a new Angular project. I use the command ng new project name and name my project my Angular app. As I am creating a project with an option to add a CSS style sheet, I choose the CSS option. The project creation has started, and an Angular project with its dependencies is created. Now let me navigate to the project folder. To add the Syncfusion Angular ListBox component, I install the Syncfusion Angular drop-downs package using the command npm install at syncfusion/ej2 angular drop-downs --save. The application is now ready to use. The first thing I must do here is register the trial license key to use Syncfusion components. I open the main TS file and import the register license method from the Syncfusion ej2 base package. Using this method, I register the trial license key. To learn how to generate this license key, refer to the link in the description below. The application is now configured to use Syncfusion components. Next, I navigate to the app component TS file, import the ListBox module from the Syncfusion Angular drop-downs package, and register it within the imports array of the component section. To apply styles to the ListBox component, navigate to the styles CSS file and add CSS references by importing the material theme. To add the ListBox component, I navigate to the app component HTML file and remove the default code snippets first. I add a division element with the class container. I include the ListBox component within it by adding the EJS ListBox tag. In the style CSS file, add a few CSS styles like margin and width to the container class to align the component. Save the changes and run the application using the npm start command. See, the ListBox component is rendered. Notice that no records are displayed. Next, let me bind data to the ListBox. In the app component TS file, inside the app component class, I define an array named data and added two properties, ID and sports, with appropriate values. I assign this data to the data source property. To identify each item and display its text, I need to map ID and sports properties with respective fields. So I define a field settings object and map sports to the text property and ID to the value property. I then assign this object to the fields property. See, now the ListBox component is rendered with the defined data. As you can see, I can select multiple items in the ListBox using the control key. This is the default selection mode. To restrict multi-selection, use the single selection mode. To demonstrate, I define the selection settings object and set the mode to single. I then assign this object to the selection settings property. Check now, I can select only one item at a time. Next, I will show how to add checkboxes. First, I import the ListBox component and checkbox selection modules from the Syncfusion Angular drop-downs package and inject them here. Then I set the Show Checkbox property to true in the selection settings. I also remove the single selection mode to demonstrate selecting multiple items using checkboxes. See, now the list box is rendered with checkboxes, and I can choose one or more items. Let me recap. I've shown you how to create an Angular app and add the Syncfusion Angular ListBox component. I also showed you how to configure it with some basic features like data binding, single item selection, and multi-item selection using checkboxes. You can download a working example from the GitHub link in the description for this video below. I have also shared a link to learn about obtaining a free license key to use our Angular components through our community license if you are eligible. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please like it and subscribe to our channel.